Hi everyone, how are you all doing? Yeah, I'm doing good. Are we all ready to begin the second in our kind of first hour series? I'll give a little explanation of what's going on while I wait for everyone to come in on chat. But the essentially the idea behind this series is that when you come into Novelcrafter, what are the first things you do? So last week we looked at what you do if you've got an idea for a story, but you don't really know anything else. We're also going to look at if you've got something to import, if you've finished your story, like all these different stages. But we're starting at kind of like super basics and then working our way up. So today's stream, we're going to look at the kind of discovery writer pantser style. So if you've got an idea, you already know a bit about the story and you just want to go in and write and enjoy yourself. Oh, everyone's in. Hello, Robert. Hello, Jean-Luc. Hello, Dragon Aloft. So, quick overview of the and grid free. Quick overview of the updates. So we did kind of like some bug fixes, some tweaks. We added a show history option for text lines for codex details. We added an alert when you try to use a prompt that has no models assigned to it, just to let you know that's the reason that your prompt isn't working. And some kind of general like other issues that people were having. There was another update 3 days ago. Again, a few little fixes. Hopefully, it's helping everyone's quality of life. Hello, Bonnie and Emery and Corey. Corey's got a mint mocha. I am very jealous. I mean, not that I particularly like mint flavored drinks, but it's the idea of having a warm, milky drink that is very appetizing. But milk isn't good on the throat when you're trying to talk for a long time, so I'll have to have something after. Okay, so the chat already has the link and I've put it in the description now, so you should all have that if you want to access this document. In the first section, I've also linked to last week's video and last week's live document as well. So you can access that, you can read through it, and it will give you a little bit of backstory. We're kind of using the same rough novel idea premise through it because it's kind of a good way of just also continuity and showing the different ideas. So this week we're going to look at the second category of users to Novelcrafter, those who already have their idea and they just want to get in and start writing. These users have a discovery writer or pantser kind of approach, and they want to learn more about their world as they write it rather than planning out every single action ahead of time. But even if you're not a pantser or discovery writer yourself, you might find some of these tips helpful and just to help kind of amplify your own process and just kind of get an idea of the different ways that you can use Novelcrafter so that you can be like, okay, well, if I can use Novelcrafter to do that, can I use it to do this thing that I want to do? And kind of play about with it yourself. So we're kind of building up confidence. So the step one is going to be filling in the codex. Well, I mean, create your novel. So let's first go. Step 0, create novel. I'm going to add it to my stream novels. Just put Kate. New novel. This will be I'll just put stream 2. And this will be book 2. Create novel. We have our novel. We're ready to start writing. We're ready to start doing stuff. So, what now? We're going to go into the codex. Take any information that we already know and just plonk it in there. Even as a discovery writer, it's highly unlikely that you have literally no idea about anything. Like, you've got an idea for the story. You may have some characters, the genre, a basic premise in mind, along with some scenes that you really want to write. The premise can be as simple as what if a telephone call turned people into zombies? Hashtag Stephen King. So let's say I'm writing a magical police story. I know my 3 detectives, I know my antagonist, and I'll probably know some other characters. I also know the location, the hotel, and the genre. Even if you only know the character's name and nothing about them, it makes sense to add them into the codex so that you can kind of track them through the story and add more details as you discover them. So before I even begin to think about scenes or writing or anything like that, I'm going to pop these details in and we'll do it nice and slow together. Jean-Luc says, I find myself a hybrid planner pantser, plan ahead and change my mind as I write. The AI makes this worse because it comes up with new ideas. Yeah. So I found that I am very much a plantser as well, but the more I plan, the less I have to rewrite. So it's kind of like I'll give myself a draft where I can just like plant, and then I'm like, okay, no, gotta plan everything. Otherwise, I'll go on forever. Okay. So we have our 3 detectives that we were looking at from last time: Max Corbin, Priya Sharma, and Dante Ramirez. I am going to make some codex entries. A character. What was his name? And now I've already forgotten the names. Max Corbin. For the purposes of these streams, I'm not going to touch codex details. Everything here will just be plonked in. We can play about with it as we go on, but the principle is we're just wanting to get started writing, and so we're just doing the very simplest things to get us beginning. If you want to use the Notion document, you can have a little read of what I'm writing as well there. You may have noticed as well, here with Andrea Hope, the hotel manager, and Andrea Thorpe, the hotel manager, and Hope Gordon's the widow. I've not actually put anything in the codex. I've not got any details. It's kind of very simple. And that's kind of to show how you can do that yourself. You can just stick in a name and keep going. So we have character Hope Gordon's, and we have Andrea Thorpe. And I will put manager of, what's it called, the hotel? The Grand Majestic Hotel. Dragon Aloft says, I'm a happy pantser who grudgingly accepts that some planning actually helps. Bonnie says, I basically put in as much as I know about the story, like my current story set in Long Beach, California. So I've put in information about Long Beach and I know some of the characters. So that's a great way. If you're just starting and you're pantsing, put in the things you know and everything else you get to discover and like add in as you go. So now I'm going to do a location, the Grand Majestic Hotel. A lot of this you'll probably recognize from when we did the streams last week. I used that brainstorm to be the equivalent of a story I've had in my mind that I've been kind of ruminating on for a while. I am also going to add in a few global entries. So we're going to start with the genre. New entry, and then I'm going to go down to you have global entry, which is like a quick create, style guide, and story genre. And in here, I'm putting contemporary urban fantasy mystery thriller with elements of magical realism and incorporating aspects of police procedural and closed circle mystery. Now, that seems like a lot, but as we've seen in our genre streams, being specific about the genre, almost fanatically so, is really helpful and kind of aids in directing the AI in the kind of correct tone. It's like a starting point. we also have the premise that I'm going to make as a global entry for now. And the premise is strange weave-related incidents plaguing the Grand Majestic Hotel usually draw guests in. When the incidents turn lethal, Detective Corbin is called in to investigate. Tricky hotel managers, new teammates, and an unstable weave nexus make his next task anything but simple. So we're just going to put that in there, see how it goes. Premise. And if we go in tracking, you can see that it's always included in the AI context. And then I'm finally going to do a lore article on the weave, which again was something that we worked on a bit last time, but this is like the equivalent of if you've got a magic system, you might be then like, okay, well, this is the stuff I know. You could very easily put these as details, each of these aspects. You could have them as different codex entries, especially if you started giving more information. You might want sub-entries with parents, but for now, we've not got too much. It's like, okay, we've got a fair amount, but it's not like overwhelming. So we're just going to put it in one article, see how, one codex entry, see how things go. So, we filled out our little bit of codex. So step 2, filling out your scenes plan. So this is a bit trickier. Obviously, we're not adding a full plan. We're intuiting it, but we can add in details here because scenes that we know we want to add. We don't need to add in placeholder scenes or anything. Just move them around as you need them. You may be saying, okay, but Kate, isn't this going to impact how the AI sees scenes reading words backwards? Reading words back? Yes. But if you're not writing with AI, it doesn't matter at all. If you are writing with AI and we have our first scene, you can go on the little actions menu and you can always choose to exclude from the AI context. Or you can leave your summaries blank at this point so that the AI doesn't see them. But if you roughly keep things in the order it would be in, that's fine. Like if you write in chronological order, it's not going to be an issue. So some scenes that I can imagine the story having, like it's a police procedural urban fantasy, you know, like the stereotypical scenes. The 3 detectives are going to be assigned to work together. They don't have a great first meeting. We know that there's going to be some kind of scene where they confront the suspect. And there's going to be a scene where they learn that they're stuck in the hotel and not allowed to leave. Like, there are 3 scenes that I know are going to happen in the book. I don't know how they're going to happen or where or why, but I know they're going to happen. So I can add like multiple acts. I might just add 3 different chapters here. I'm just going to literally copy and paste these in. I might be like, okay. I might be like, okay, well, there's going to be some moment where they all fall apart. There's different things, but I'm like, well, I didn't really have any like concrete ideas. So I'm like, okay, well, this is good enough. It's the ideas I have. As I have more, I can add them in. So then, step 3, write. Like, if you don't want to use AI, the process is exactly the same as what we're doing. You think about what you want to write for the next few hundred words, and then you write it. If you're using AI, you think about the first, like, next few hundred words, write some instructions, and then press generate prose. So it's a similar workflow, just like similar premise, slightly different workflows. So unlike plotters who might carefully curate their scene beats, going from an outline to a scene summary to individual beats for the scene, discovery writers are more likely to think of things on the fly. Your beats could be as simple as X and Y are trying to get access to the hotel. Oh, sorry. They're stopped by an overzealous hotel staff member. Or they could be much more complex, more of a ramble, a bit more direction. And I'm going to go into both of these when writing in a moment. We're currently as we're doing the beginners series, we're currently working with just the general purpose prompts, the system prompts, so that everyone has access to them. If you're wanting to write larger or smaller chunks of prose at a time, then you will need to edit the prompt. Whilst I probably won't go through it in this hour, we have videos, I guess, up that go into it and tell you how you can make those edits yourself. There's here we have a video version and we have a written version, depending on which you prefer. So yeah, let's just start some pantsing. So I'm gonna go with, let's just start chapter 1. I don't know if this is gonna be chapter 1. I'm thinking, so I'm kind of imagining this scene where it all depends on whose point of view I go. I might go Max Corbin's point of view. We're going to see how that turns out. Where he is trying to get access to the hotel. He's arrived early. He's like ready, wants to get things sorted. But the overzealous receptionist doesn't believe his credentials, and because he's on his own and not in like a city sanctioned team, she doesn't believe he's a police officer. And so then as the others arrive slightly later, it kind of gives us a chance to introduce them. That's kind of like literally me speaking aloud as we go. So Max, see that this is right. I've typed in Max and then I'm like, oh, why isn't it underlining? And that's because I've not added the aliases. So I'm going to add in Max and Corbin, Dante Ramirez, Andrea, Ms. Thorpe, Mrs. Gordon's Hope. We've got Max and Priya Sharma. And then this might also be called the Grand Majestic, and then Hotel. So now what you can see that Max is highlighted. So I'm going to have Max arriving early to investigate, tries to convince the receptionist to let him into the hotel proper to begin his investigations. The receptionist is skeptical because police investigators normally travel in threes. Max's Max doesn't actually know who else was assigned to the case. He just wanted to get started. Okay. Okay, so Dustin asks or says, if detailed prompts and global are helpful to the AI, can you explain what goes where? For example, if the book is in the past, is that a global entry? What about audience type, etc. for various inputs? Yeah, so if you've got your book set in a specific historical time period, I would perhaps have a short global entry of being like setting and be like, 18th century France. Or American Civil War to help prime the AI. If you're writing fantasy or something that is in a separate world, you might just be like, okay, well, I'm going to add in that into my world building. If you're doing something set in the modern day, AI will usually default to that, I've found. So without any other priming, you can put that in. Sometimes like words that you use will help influence that. So like this is actually, let me make one. Let's go global entry. I'm going to go setting, and I'm going to go 2112 New York City. So we're just going to see how that, if that impacts things. I mean, I'm wondering if it's going to give everyone American accents. We'll see. I'm also going to, so you see here, the AI may not have enough context of the point of view character. And I'm like, okay, well, I haven't actually set the point of view for this story. And now I'm like, okay, well, I know it's going to be Max because that's who I've written the beat as. So I'm going to edit the scene point of view for now because I don't know if Max is going to be the point of view character for the entire thing or not. It might be, but I don't know, so I'm not going to make any commitments. So I chose from third person to third person limited. I selected my character, Max, and I save. I'm going to go general purpose. I will try a few different models, I think. We're doing 400 words. We're just trying to see how things are. I'm going to start with Gemini Flash because that's like one of my favorites, like of the cheaper models. And then we'll do Claude. So the Grand Majestic loomed, a gothic monstrosity of glass and steel, its imposing facade reflected in the bruised twilight sky. Corbin adjusted his tie, the familiar tightness a dull ache against his skin. He wasn't fond of the place. The weave hummed here, a discordant thrum that vibrated in his bones. He approached the reception desk, its polished surface gleaming under the lobby's subdued lighting. A young woman with meticulously applied makeup and a bored expression sat behind it, scrolling through a datapad. See, that is something from 2112. It's calling it a datapad rather than like a tablet. So that's interesting to see how this is already being impacted by the setting. Detective Corbin, he announced, his voice low and not evil. I'm here to investigate the recent incidents. The receptionist didn't look up. We've already spoken to the precinct. They said a team would arrive later. Her tone was dismissive. Corbin sighed. He hadn't been informed of a team eager to get started solo as always. There seems to be some misunderstanding, he tried, his patience wearing thin. The weave throbbed stronger in his head, the energy of the hotel itself seeming pushing back against his investigation. 3 detectives, she stated flatly, her eyes finally lifting to meet his. That's standard procedure for weave-related disturbances of this magnitude. See, I'm kind of like, okay, well, she's seeing this. I'm like, okay, well, this is like good start. I'm going to put it in a section. So that's up here at the top. And then apply. I'm going to go... I'm going to put a remember little instruction. So the receptionist layperson, likely in her late teens, and bored. Max knows that he has gone against regulation. So here I'm kind of like, well, as I'm pantsing, I'm like, I kind of like that opening, but this is what I'm feeling more. So I'm going to try again. Just experimenting. I'm going to go with sonnet this time. See how it does. And the early morning sun cast long shadows through the hotel's revolving doors. Corbin adjusted his tie. Interesting that they've both picked up on that. Fingers brushing against the detective badge in his pocket. His joints ached. The weave concentration in this place was already making itself known. The marble-floored lobby stretched before him, all polished surfaces and Art Deco flourishes. Behind the desk, a young woman scrolled through her phone, pink-tipped hair falling across her face. Detective Max Corbin. He placed his badge on the counter. Hear about the incidents. She glanced up, then back at her phone. Where's your team? They'll be along shortly. The lie tasted bitter. I'd like to get started. Yeah, that's not how it works. She sets the phone down. Protocol says teams of minimum of 3. Hotel policy. Corbin's hand tightened on his badge. Listen, he checked her name tag. Sarah. Very AI. Time's critical in these cases. The longer we wait, the more the weave patterns degrade. Yeah, I know. She rolled her eyes. We had the training seminar last month. Still doesn't change policy. His scarred shoulder twinged, a reminder of what happened when people got casual about the weave investigation protocols. But he needed in now. Needed to see the patterns before they faded completely. Your manager, Andrea Thorpe, she's expecting me. Miss Thorpe isn't in yet. Sarah picked up her phone again. But I can call her if you want. No need to disturb her. Corbin retrieved his badge. The last thing he needed was the hotel manager knowing he jumped the gun. I'll wait for my team. He settled into one of the lobby's plush armchairs, ignoring how the concentrated weave made his old injuries sink. Through the windows, the morning traffic crawled past while he watched the entrance for whoever the department had assigned to work with him. Okay, that's a promising start. I might unsection that, but it's not the best. It's not the worst. There's definitely things I would change. However, I'm just dissolving this section to make the text arrive. We're just testing things out. We're playing around. We're going to write the scene. So I'm just going to move on. Scene beat. What do I do next? So, Max's patience wears thin. He thinks about the case and the latest incident at the hotel, a suspicious death that has led the team to be called. His thoughts are interrupted by... Oh, yep, of course, Corey. His thoughts are interrupted by the revolving doors again. He groans internally when he sees Inspector Sharma arrive. I'm going to add that in as well. So then Max is a detective, Corbin, and then let's have Dante as an officer or technician. I think he's going to be a technician. And we can go generate prose and then last used. So it uses the same prompt that we did last time. We can just click it, same model. Some of this is a bit telling. So this might be the point where in my kind of, I'm pantsing through everything. I'm just experimenting. I'm going to be like, okay, well, let's start asking about the style guide. I can already see, okay, well, it's very much using a lot of the codex. Burn. Okay, so I'm gonna go new entry. I'm gonna go style guide. I like the prose mostly. It's we don't want to dump everything about the story. Amp up the suspense. So I'm going to just try that. And actually, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to regenerate this paragraph. So I've just selected all that text. I'm putting it into a section, minimizing that. I'll call it attempt 1. And then I'm going to try and generate that prose again with this prose style guide and see how that goes, how things change. if there are any other tweaks we need. And we're just doing this on the fly, casual, going through, you know. So I like that. I would definitely kit bash the two together in this instance. Um, oh, I should probably actually, that's a reminder, turn these off from being included in the AI and the word count, just so that we're not confusing the AI, because that can happen if you had like two versions of the same prose. So we've got this. What would I necessarily have happen next? Okay, so they're there. We're going. Stilted conversation happens between the two. Neither is comfortable with the other. Um, they move on to talking about the case just as they begin to begin to fall into deeper conflict. There is a shout, and Dante makes his appearance late. Max has some. So this isn't written in the codex, so I'm going to add it here. Max has some experience working with Ramirez. Feels the kid is a little naive. That feels in character. We're just going through this. Generate prose. Last used. Does anyone have any questions about anything that I've done so far? Is there anything they want me to go over again, or repeat, or just like look at? Let me know. Okay, interesting what they went for, like experience versus like. That's cool. How did I make that second section? As in, oh, when I made these. So if you go and you've got everything, you can just click section up here. Or if you select an amount of text, the section button is here in the top right of this. So again, it's kind of revealing a lot of details. And so this is where I'm kind of like, as a user, I'm kind of there for the first time. I'm like, oh, I'm not really feeling this because it's dumping out all the information. That then makes me think, okay, well, do I need to hold stuff back myself and have very simple codex entries? I could try. Oh, you're welcome. Okay. I don't know why I section. I'm so used to like automatically sectioning, putting everything into sections. So I'm just dissolving that. Okay. I am going to do some very simple edits to everything just to try and see if I can improve the characterization. I'm kind of going through and being like, okay, well, if a lot of information is getting dumped out, then I need to not give the AI that information. So I have these fairly big entries, so I'm going to remove them, put them into research and then notes. So this isn't seen by the AI. And I'm going to put, okay, I'm going to put that back in and then I can, I'm just really simplifying everything now. Enthusiastic. Bonnie says, Kate, you may also want to try in your style guide giving instructions regarding the info dump. Yeah, well, I tried to be like, hold back details from the reader, but that didn't seem to do enough. So I'm kind of like going to be like, okay, well, I'm going to hold the details back. I might edit the prose style guide a little bit more. Mrs. Social Cues. And I'm just going to remove the backstory completely. We've got it all in the research. We don't need it now. Max. That's fine. He's going to be skeptical, practical, proactive, and thorough. But it also means brisk. And then I'm going to practical, ambitious, a social warrior. I like, for example, you could tell it to only use the information that is pertinent to the scene you're currently working on. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to try this. I'm then going to take everything here. Pop that all into a big section. And then I'm going to just add these in manually as new scene beats. Let's find my second one. I will answer you in a second, Dustin. Okay, so Dustin asks, can you direct the AI via a prompt to exclude or include data in the story? For example, early story prompt, use only 30% of the codex to build the beginning of the book. I have absolutely never tried. Um, I would say that given how bad AI is at counting, that is probably easier said than done. What I would do if I was going into like a more advanced class, so ignore this if you're just like here for very beginning. But what I would probably do is have a detail, maybe called like information to, and I would choose to never include it until the moment that I needed to, or I would add in more information as codex progressions, so / codex progression, and then feed the information that way. 90% of the time, giving the AI all the information in advance never works the way we want it to, which kind of sucks. So even here, okay, interesting. It's still got. Wait, that's why it's still got the hair. Okay, so let's try that again. Okay, NYPD, it's definitely pulling from the codex, which is good to know. Hollow screen, so it's using the time period and the location. Wow, Sarah is brutal, guys. Every minute we waste is what? The bodies are gone, scenes sealed, nothing's going anywhere. Okay, so obviously this little bit doesn't fit with what we're doing next, but I quite like it. So I'm gonna actually change what I'm writing because I'm like, oh, okay, I've actually got a new idea that I like more. Max is about to go into the I guess I'll go elevator because it's American. Elevator when he catches Priya entering the hotel. He tries to look nonchalant as if he isn't breaking the rules. I'm sure you can guess how well that goes. So yeah, so I'm gonna then delete this beat. We're gonna then try again. New things. We're completely pantsing this after all. But I do like that. Okay, very much some AI isms, but what can you do? Oh my god, I'm loving Sarah so much. Um, okay, interesting that they've gone them upstairs, even though there's no. So I'm gonna then again. I'm following this. I'm pivoting. Yeah, Sarah has definitely met Delilah. She is a sass bucket. Um, for reference, Delilah is the character from my Write With Me series. Um, I'm gonna get rid of that. Um, Corbin asks, oh, Max asks, why they're not waiting for the third member. Priya says they're maybe they're not running late. Is unimpressed. And they see Dante Dante Ramirez. Okay. So Max asks why they're not waiting for the third member. Priya says they were already up there analysing. When Max goes to protest about the protocol, he was just berated for trying to break. Priya is unimpressed. The door's open and they see Dante Ramirez setting up loads of gadgets. Max remembers the last case he had with Ramirez and how tedious the tools were. So I'm gonna get rid of that. I'm not feeling it. Ramirez tries to explain what he is doing. Max tunes it out. Looks to Sharma, who also looks as if she couldn't care less, but is more polite about it. When they're finally allowed in, neither of the other two can see it. Ahem. So Ramirez tries to explain what he's doing. Max tunes it out, looks to Sharma, who also looks as if she couldn't care less, but is more polite about it. When they're finally allowed in, Max pushes open the door only to be stunned at the nexus he can see. Neither of the other two can see it, so don't understand why he stopped in the door. He does not explain it to them, pretending everything is normal. Let's see how well it does. Okay. So what I'm seeing here is that There are a lot of AI-isms and a lot of stereotypes, but I think that is a matter of needing to tweak the style guides, and with playing around with the prompt, you would be able to do stuff. So I'm just gonna have a little. I'm not gonna play with the prompt. I'm just gonna go in. We're just gonna go general purpose. Ignore all my messy attempts. So I might be like, okay, well, I'm going to clone this and then add in some extra instructions here, remove stuff. But the prose itself was good. It was just the stuff that was added in. So that would be what I'd have to kind of mess around with. It might be that I've adding in the injury and like some of the codex stuff is making things a bit too shove it in your face. Like, so maybe I need to kind of like give more instruction for nuance, maybe add into the scene beat, not to mention certain things, to mention others. Like, for example, like I did well, they're not explaining stuff. But when you pants, that's, I guess that's kind of how you go about things. You're just testing things out. Pivot if the AI gives you something you like. It might be that after this first scene beat, I was like, no, I don't like this bit. I don't want him to try and get him. So you just delete it, or you regenerate the prose and see what you prefer. You could even try and write the entire chapter in one go if you had ideas and you just wanted to like type away your kind of like summary. You end up with 1,000 words, and then you're like, okay, convert that to prose. Like, that is a totally viable way of doing things. So if we go back to the Notion document, what is next? So you've started writing, building up your story. What might you do in the next hours? One of the big thing is add codex entries as you go. Characters, locations, objects you think will be significant. Remember, you can always archive them, so you're not bound if you add something. So let's take, okay, Sarah. I am going to highlight her name and then click codex entry. Receptionist at the Grand Majestic. She is sassy, pops gum, and has pink streaks in her hair. Typical bored teen. That's what I know from this scene that we've written, so that's what I'm putting in. We know that, so I'm going to scan through what we've got. So we know that badges can be read, so that could be an object, but I want to go more for okay. So the Mark 7 codex entry. We're going to change this from character to object. An advanced detector of the weave that Ramirez uses in his work. It can detect weave signatures through solid walls. So we've got that. There might be some things like, you know, all these bits, if you're doing like a hard sci-fi, you might then be like, okay, I want to put these in, I want to add them as lore and explain everything. But for our purposes, absolutely not needed. So you can do that. You can start adding to your codex, and then it means that the AI will start pulling things back out as they come applicable. If you get more ideas for scene summaries, you can add them as you think of them for future reference. You can always move them around, and if you want to get an AI summary later, you can, so like as you write, you will want to get the AI to summarize your work. But for the ideation of chapters, just throw down your thoughts in the plan interface. Like if it's happening after the general purpose prompt doesn't see it. So we might be like, okay, so after they get stuck in the hotel, I want to add a chapter where Corbin speaks to Sarah, asking about the strange occurrences. Thorpe, Andrea is lurking around and interrupts before a secret can be shared. So I'm like, okay, I've thought of another idea. If I decided I wanted it before the hotel, them getting stuck in the hotel, you just move it. And because you can change in the view, you can make things smaller, bigger. You can really like have flexibility. Or you can also change your browser size, like the zoom in. So I do that a lot. So like in streams, normally I'll have the browser on like 150%. But when I'm working on my laptop, which is a much smaller screen, I'll go for like 90%. So that can also be a way of getting more space if you're wanting to like move things around. Okay, and then also you might be like, okay, I want to chat with my characters or scenes. Ask my characters how they'd resolve the current crises. It might even give you ideas for your next beat or instructions for the AI. You might also chat with your premise or the genre to understand expectations of the genre. If you need like a hand like wrangling your thoughts, or you want to subvert the genre. So that is also totally there to do that. So I might be like, okay, I'm gonna go chat with scene. So I did action menu, chat with scene. I will pin this. I'm gonna be like, okay, this is just the general purpose prompt. I will give Sonnet just to show you a good example. Please take on the role of Max. You will respond as him to all questions. I'm taking on the role of the writer who is telling his story for his autobiography and needs to know all the details about what happened. Me. Max. Okay, so I've gone, Max, what happened after you opened the hotel room? What did you actually see? The scene had been preserved, right? So what was it? Okay, no, don't do any leading questions. So we're just gonna see. I'm interested to see how it takes on. Okay, adjusting posture, speaking with a gruff measured tone. Look, I've seen my share of weave disturbances over the years, but oh no, you'd be American. Look, I've seen my share of weave disturbances over the years, but this was different. The moment I opened that door, it was like walking into the heart of a storm. The Nexus energy was overwhelming. Imagine threads of light like luminescent spider webs, but they were moving, pulsing with a rhythm that matched the pain in my old injuries. The physical scene itself, two bodies on the floor near the panoramic windows, positioned about 10 feet apart. They looked peaceful, almost as if they were sleeping, which is never a good sign with weave-related deaths. Sweet, okay, yada yada. So obviously some bits aren't quite working, but he did do a good job. Yeah, so Bonnie says there's also a prompt in the prompt sharing section in the Novelcrafter Discord, which you can get a link in the description of this video. I was wanting just for this purpose to write something that you could use even if you didn't know how to add in prompts or anything. So I'm just going to give I'll give that to you if you want. But yeah, there are some really good prompts in the Novelcrafter Discord. But if you're just starting out, it might be something that you're like, okay, I don't know what to do. I just want something simple. But this is a great way. Like you can be like, oh, sorry. You can get things started, brainstorm, and yeah, it's a pretty good way of starting as a pantser. So okay, it's on the hour, so I'm gonna wrap up now. Next week, we are going to go into starting if you've got an idea but you're more of a plotter, so you're trying to get your plan kind of refined. Like you might have ideas of what to do, but you're like, okay, well, how do I get all these ideas in a coherent pattern? Where do I start with that? How do I get everything kind of like my ducks in a row? So that's going to be what we cover next week. I hope to see you then. Does anyone have any questions before I head off? And then I'll wait awkwardly. But yeah, and if you have any questions ahead of next week's session, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I will try and address them live or during the office hours. If you're not already part of the Novelcrafter community on Discord, you can join with the link in the description below. And every Wednesday at 4 p.m. GMT, so the same time as this stream started for your time zone, we go live, do some writing, and if you have questions, I can answer them live and show you, which kind of helps keep things kind of organized. But yeah, thank you very much, and I will see you all on Wednesday. Bye.